Hello, everyone. So, House of the Dragon aired its first episode today. Been waiting for this one for quite a while, but this is a prequel show all about the Targaryens, about 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones took off. So, of course, this is a bit of a spin-off. And again, just very highly anticipated. This first season. It's going to be 10 episodes long, so it's going to air week after week on HBO, as of course Game of Thrones did. It is created by Ryan J. Condell and, of course, George R. R. Martin, stars Patty Considine, Matt Smith, a whole bunch of other actors make their way into this, but pretty damn solid cast all throughout. So, yes, without further ado, I'm going to get into my review and initial thoughts for episode 1 of House of the Dragon. So, House of the Dragon takes place kind of during the second dynasty of the House Targaryen's reign. King Viserys I is in power right now, and basically how this starts off and what the initial setup of this episode is King Viserys trying to choose his next heir for the throne. He's been trying to have a baby boy for 3 pregnancies. He just has one daughter, who, of course, is Princess Brianna Targaryen, but his next heir to the throne is his brother, Daemon Targaryen. So there's a bit of a struggle between these two in terms of their power that kind of crosses paths a little bit in this first episode. But of course, King Viserys wants the true heir to go to his son. So his wife is pregnant at the moment, and they're highly anticipating the birth of a baby boy. They really hope that this time it's going to be it. So then they can not have to worry about succession and, of course, finding, again, the true heir to the throne and just avoid the very scary politics that's made ill to the Targaryen throne during the reign of the First Dynasty. They do go into quite a bit of the history of the Targaryens before the show takes place, which I found was very, very nice for people who haven't read the book that this is based off on, which is Fire and Blood, which George R. R. Martin released, I believe it was 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Read that. It's more like a textbook that you would find, of course, in like the Maester's Keep or anything like that. So actually having this put into the screen is very, very nice. And again, I found that first 80 so years of their reign, 60, 80 years of their reign, they did cover very, very nicely. So a few other things that are going on too is, of course, Daemon Targaryen. You could tell that he lusts for power and he wants to basically sit on the Iron Throne. One day he's definitely a plotter and a schemer. You can see it in his mind, but he has been recently given the position of King of the Night's Watch of King's Landing. So there is an amazing sequence I found that just really shows how brutal and scary his character is going to be. And one of that is basically showing like his version of a police state, and definitely a very brutal, ask no questions, just basically enforced a law then and there, almost like you would see in the Dread series. Basically, judge, jury, and executioner, him and his men are playing during the night, where they are castrating rapists, they are cutting off the hands of thieves, they're beating the crap out of people for petty crimes. And this is all because a tournament is going to be made in the king's name, where people from all across the lands and all across the kingdoms are going to come to celebrate the birth, of course, of King Viserys' new child. And oh my goodness, it was definitely an absolutely brutal scene. There are some definitely brutal kills that, of course, it's Game of Thrones, you definitely expect it, but I want to say some of the most brutal that we've seen in a long, long time, whether, again, it just be people getting their faces bashed in with axes. There's one person who gets their face completely taken off by a club. It's horrifying in a lot of ways, just absolutely brutal, but definitely in terms of the cinematography and just brutality that Game of Thrones brought, and we would expect it, transfers over to this episode as well, or this series as well, but so does all that amazing soundtrack and scoring, and just cinematography is absolutely incredible and amazing. Of course, the guy who did the music, Ramin Djawadi, I really hope I pronounced that right, did the music for Game of Thrones. He's back for doing the music for House of the Dragon as well. And yeah, just the cinematography and this is absolutely beautiful, whether it's showing off King's Landing, whether it's showing off battle sequences or horse jousting tournaments, or again, to just even showing off the OG Iron Throne that people from the books, people who read the books, have been waiting to see. Kind of, it's not quite in its full glory, but it's really, really damn close. The closest I think we're going to get. Looks very, very great. Set design, costume design, all of that is as amazing, if not better, than it was in, of course, Game of Thrones. It's just the magic that they had in that definitely translates extremely well over into this season, as well as the acting. Matt Smith knocks it out of the park. Everyone so far is doing a great performance, bringing to their characters and this world to life. I've absolutely loved watching what I did so far. It does feel like the old school season one Game of Thrones is back in a way that, again, I just really loved. This was a great first episode to set up what we can expect the plot line of this first season to go down. Of course, since I've read the book, I have a decent idea of where it's going to go. But of course, since that was basically written more as like a textbook experts, I'm really excited to see them fill in some of the gaps here. Hope they do it justice. I know a lot of people are very, very nervous about that fact since, I mean, we saw what they did with Game of Thrones in ways that definitely weren't the best choices in ways. But so far, what they've done, I've really, really enjoyed it. And it's just something that I'm very, very excited to see more about because of the performances has been absolutely great. I didn't get to see Matt Smith do a Morbius dance on top of a flying dragon, so I mean, a little disappointed there, but I think I'll live without that one. But yeah, no, all the performances have been absolutely stellar. I've really been liking, again, just the initial setup that this episode did was something very, very awesome, and it just gets me really excited for what's to come. Again, I think there's going to be some absolutely bloody, brutal action sequences. I know they always show a teaser at the end of the episodes, but I tried not to watch this one because I want to kind of know as little as possible going into it. When it comes to the CG of the dragons, they showed off two in this episode and they look absolutely terrifying. They're big, they're bulky, they fly very, very smoothly. They weren't in it for too long in this episode, but all of the CG effects when it came to it looked very, very good. This is also too, it does set up that Game of Thrones thing where no one's safe and anyone can die at any instant because everyone has such different plots and goals that they are working towards in this, and it's absolutely bloody and brutal and just damn right disrespectful to a lot of the other characters. And yeah, you're definitely going to see that in this first episode, which again I absolutely loved. I love that they're not shying away from the politics and the brutality, which made Game of Thrones so great. So they're definitely sticking to the overall themes that George R. R. Martin had in mind and shaped his universe around, translated very, very well into this first episode. And yeah, no, it was a fantastic episode. There's a lot that, again, I just think it did really, really good setup wise. A few things more that I think they need to explain, but they, of course, they're going to get into that as it goes through the season. I know a lot of people might have like a bit of a sour taste when it comes to some of the, I would call them romance scenes, the very sexual content that this first episode has can feel a little out of place at ways, or maybe something a little too much for some people. I don't really find it too again out there myself. I think it plays in line very well with the character that is kind of centered around and where he would kind of be, just knowing the status that he has and the type of person that he seems to be. Again, too, it might leave a sour taste in people's mouths, but I feel like it's kind of you're going to see a lot of those aspects in the first season, but as Game of Thrones did, they kind of shied away, or I don't want to say shied away, they matured away from having all of these, again, kind of grotesque scenes of sexuality in this season. So I feel like, again, it's going to kind of go down the same line. So I wouldn't say don't get shied away from what you see in this first episode. I don't think it's going to be in the season for too long, the series let alone either. But really, with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give the first episode of House of the Dragon an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal, and it gets me pumped for what's coming. Again, it feels like the old school season one Game of Thrones is back in a very, very good way. Makes me very, very excited. It's doing all the things that Game of Thrones did, which I absolutely loved in this first episode, and I just think that this is going to turn into an absolute amazing series, especially with more dragons, and again, some of the infighting that's going to happen within the Targaryen bloodline is going to just be absolutely nasty and brutal and pull the heartstrings of people quite a bit. The characters that they put onto the screen, you've definitely have your heroes and villains kind of shaped right now so far, but they evolve so much. I'm excited to see again too just how all these characters evolve, how they transform them and adapt Fire and Blood onto the screen. Of course, just all the Targaryen dynasty onto the screen. So if you've seen the first episode of House of the Dragon, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up. And you can check out everything I do on my channel. I'll link some playlists up here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turning that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out my, well, the description of this video, and of course, my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.
Sky blue eyes, I see a world behind them. No more time sinking into the side.